Alright, some more IEM Katowice group stage replay casting. As in the bottom left-hand corner, we do have the blue Protoss player kicking us off today. It is going to be Zoun. As in the upper right-hand side, the red Terran player is Team Liquid's Clem. As we get ready and going in the first map that we will cast today. This is our second day of basically going through some IEM Katowice replays and just picking and choosing some cool series, casting some stuff for the YouTube while obviously just getting the Twitch stream live again. Obviously, first couple of days back from the World Championship, there's not a lot going on, but we do have the WardiTV Winter Championship starting tomorrow with some Korean qualifiers. On Sunday, we've got a special announcement stream. I am working to try and pull that together. Fingers crossed that should be not too much of an issue. And yeah, just in general, excited to keep on bringing you guys some StarCraft 2. So, with that said, let's dive into this one. Zoun and Clem played in the group stages, so this was played in Group D of the competition. Group D really was the group of death. Absolutely no doubt about that. It was not even close. Yeah, I don't even really know what to say. This group was just stacked. This was the group that had Clem and Zoun and Maru and Raynor and Scarleton, and then the player that joined from the open bracket was Bjorn, just to make it even more difficult. So, pretty tough group. Again, obviously just want to, full transparency here as well, just to mention as the proxy gateway comes up to start off. So 2 gates, 1 proxied. And Clem gonna maybe scout this? Yes, just catches a glimpse before he turned away, so he knows. He doesn't even know what it is. He'll go back and check, and we'll just see it's a gateway. Cool, good information to have. And he will know exactly then what Zoun is trying to achieve, at least in these early few moments. But yes, I just very quickly wanted to say, full transparency, that obviously I worked IEM Katowice, I casted a whole bunch of games then, obviously I was watching a whole bunch of games there. That's why I'm mostly casting games from the group stages, games that kind of got missed, ones that I didn't see as much of. Maybe I saw the result at some point, but it was so much of a blow with so much going on. Because, yeah, it's obviously weird, because, obviously I was very involved in the World Championship, but this is me just kind of finding the middle ground of games I can cast and still get excited about, still be kind of, finding very fun, feeling is very cool, and all that kind of stuff without it being completely spoiler kind of heavy, so just a little bit of transparency on that one, because I'm sure someone will ask somewhere along the way. As, yeah, a Marauder opening because, well, quite frankly, I think we've got a, Terran player who has scouted out some aggression from his opponent. Now, the Marauders can do very well in this situation because the Marauders are actually able to slow down these units once they get that concussive shell. So, they really will just stand up for themselves, and I actually think that's going to be pretty nice here for Clem. Because these first units of Zoun, they're also very good at chipping away at Marines. Like, early game, the early game units of a Terran player are not great against, Marines aren't great against gateway units and low counts. But once you get a Marauder in there, and you get that extra damage against Armored, you get that slow going, it can help a lot more. And these Marauders especially are just very tanky, so they just won't die for a long time. And that's kind of what's happening here. The fight maybe started even a little too soon before concussive shells, but I think Clem just wanted to capitalize and jump on that while he had the opportunity to make something of it, and so he did so. I'm just going to be seeing our probes currently boosting out, as we do have Warp Gate on the way through. The blink is now starting. All of that is still just setting up. So yeah, blink just getting started here, and otherwise waiting to see where else we're going to head to. Is pretty standard from Zoun. Obviously, the proxy gate doesn't do a lot, and he got scoured. Clem showed that he's seen it by putting the SCV on the pylon, so I'm pretty sure Zoun didn't commit as heavily to this as he might have otherwise done. There's definitely worlds in which Clem could have gone a lot more kind of all out on this one, as the Adept gets in here, picks off that SCV, takes that down already, and just going to be seeing the Feud Stalkers coming back over the right-hand side. I'm going to go after that Hellion, so the Hellion not going to have the best of times just yet either. It's going to get pushed away, and these Marauders are going to try and fight back. Not really too much going to come out of that, though, for the moment, and yeah, a couple extra barracks on the way up. We go into 3 racks here, and Clem, pretty comfortable, I think. He is able to hold on against that initial aggression. He's able to deal with the first bit of pressure without any issue. It sets him up well in the game, no doubt about it. Puts him into a very strong spot to start with, at the very least. So, yeah, good starting position. We'll see where we go from there as another Nexus comes down out to the bottom side of the map, so puts that one down in position. It's going to see a Hellion moving across the map as well, so that's just going to be coming across. And is just going to sit on the south side as we get a probe, is going to run on over, and the Hellion is going to try and roast and toast that for a little while as well. Dep comes in, then picks off the Hellion, and there's a little bit of back and forth on the early game. Continues. Nothing really too severe, nothing really all too crazy just yet in these early stages. A lot of just what you would kind of expect to see so far. Beyond that proxy gateway, a lot of setting up, right? The Stalkers are here, and yes, they are to put on a bit of pressure, but it's only 2 gateways, so it's not like they're, you know, really looking to deal a whole ton of damage. On the other side of that, obviously, as well, you know, Clem's just on his way to stim and combat shield. He hasn't got much to defend against, got much to do, so he just sits back, makes sure he's safe. Yeah, Zoun gets up to 3rd base. Clem should be generally okay with that. It's when those bio upgrades kick in that you start to really ramp up the pressure, and that's when you really want to start getting to a stage where you're stopping your opponent from going up into the, you know, extra bases, extra economy, extra tech. That's when Clem will start to apply more pressure. Zoun's going to play a style, though, that is going to be very gateway heavy. 7 additional gateways coming online, so that takes you up to 9 in total. Obviously, 9 is a pretty hefty number, and it means you're going to have a lot of Stalkers, a lot of charge lots, and just in general, a lot of potential aggression coming through as the Bioforce taking a few steps forwards, chasing those Stalkers out of there. Extra gates still continuing to build. As they all come online, this style of Zoun is meant to be A, very aggressive, and B, very good at just stopping initial Terran aggression, because you just have so many units. And while those units maybe don't trade the best in mass numbers, you really can, you know, initially kind of have that surge of units and really overpower a Terran bio army. Zealots charging in, Stalkers blinking after medevacs. You can trade very well with that combination, and that's a lot of what we're expecting to see here out of this map number 1 from Zoun. He does drop a Robobait down, so there is a future plan. You know, it's not just about this initial swarm of units. He will have tech, he will have splash damage that's added into here. That is going to be on the way at some stage. Just going to have to start working towards it as Zealot Stalker goes up the right-hand side, heading to the top of the map. Extra Zealots continue to warp in. The Robobait going to finish up soon. There's a few Stalkers coming forward again. The Bio Army there to greet those Stalkers and to turn them on around, turn them back away. +1 attack still coming up from Clem, as he has a couple of Widow Mines trying to drop into the back of this mineral line. So a couple of Widow Mines coming through. They will burrow up, and that's a lot of probes. 8 workers going down, and Zoun is caught off guard, not prepared, and that's a great start for Clem. Just as Zoun was lurking across the map, looking for potential damage, Clem gets into a mineral line and deals some pretty serious damage, and that's going to make Zoun think twice about maybe committing in. You know, maybe he has to go back and really focus on defending the follow-up Widow Mine drop again. It just takes his kind of momentum away, and I mean, yes, okay, Colossus on the way up, Robobait working on that extended thermal lance, so the splash damage is coming, but I think Zoun would have been like, you know, would have liked to have had a look at maybe taking a flight across the map there. It's interesting because it's kind of in between. Like I say, it's not like he's all in on this army. He has got tech coming up behind it. I mean, stuff like +2 though, right? Where's the +2 attack? That's not starred. That's something which needs to come into play soon here from Zoun, or he's fallen further behind. And what I'm worried about for Zoun is that Clem obviously just got a real momentum builder. You know, he gets those workers, that slows Zoun down a lot, and now Clem can maybe start to really pressure himself. He gets across the map, and the face of 9 gateways of production, that's usually terrifying, but he gets here, the tank gets sieged up, the Widow Mines will be able to burrow as well. And a couple more medevacs actually coming across the map. Well, the Bioforce actually takes a step back. Zealots are going to fall back with it. The counterattack looked pretty decent from Zoun. Checking on that in a moment. Looks like he's getting cleaned up, though, as the medevac's going to drop the main base, and Clem is going to go full throttle. As we just see him ramping up the pressure. Now, Zealots warping to defend the main. The power of 9 gateways is you will have high warp in amounts. And that is what we continue to see for the moment. It's just going to be seeing a few extra probes already going down. Now the Bio Army jumping in over here, looking for a few more workers as well. 7 probes already going down. Make it 10, and gets an assimilated too. So Clem is just doing a lot of damage. The counterattack of Zoun never did anything. Clem shut that down pretty much immediately. And so Zoun has not been able to break the momentum that Clem has built up here. And that's going to be tough. I mean, this Widow Mine's going to come off cooldown. You can see that Zoun is just trailing behind where he should be. And not just in, you know, just kind of mentally a little bit as well, right? Not cleaning up that mine in time. That's just damage that you don't want to be taking. It's bonus damage that Clem gets as Oh, he's actually going to chase forward here. No detection either, so there's Widowmine still alive. Might get a chance to fire again at some stage. Still dropping. Nice was down to push back the attack that was on the third base. But here are the reinforcements, and that's something that Clem hasn't really utilized for a long time. He has not brought any reinforcements across the map because he's been terrified of the counter, which we already saw a little bit of. Widowmine is just still left here and dealing damage is unforgivable at this stage. It's just damage you should never take. But yes, you know, to kind of bounce back to Clem's side, I mean, he's just non-stop, right? He's just kept the pressure up, and Zoun just can't, like I was saying, that's what I was saying. Zoun can't sort of mentally get in the game, it feels like, you know, he's just not dealing with things like he should be. And that's Clem just continuing to apply a lot of pressure and making it very tough for Zoun. I mean, Widowmine drop after Widowmine drop. Even when Clem's major army has backed away, there's a drop still out over here. Now we are losing some SCVs across the map. I can't quite see what that is. I guess just a few Zealots showing up as Zoun continues to deal with this Widowmine drop pressure. There's a Stalker that goes down because some Widowmines are just left behind because Clem's in that kind of a position as well. He's been controlling the map and he's, you know, hence able to leave some bits and pieces behind when he would like to. So he does so. And now this bio army continues down the left-hand side, jumping in on a pylon. Probe will go down. 5 workers have been killed from the Protoss once again. Disruptor shot initially strikes pretty well. The Disruptor shot, right? Does Disruptor die? Disruptor's just mixed in the middle. I just couldn't see it there for a moment. But yeah, I mean, as a couple more Widowmines load up, it feels like this is not letting up at all. Clem has been, again, full throttle was kind of the word for it that I used initially, and he really hasn't let up from there. He really has not. It has been Clem, Clem, Clem in this game number 1. Just going without any failure, so what's next? Well, I think good news for Zoun is the game slows down slightly. You get some Disruptors up, and those are units which can obviously create a comeback for you, so I like that idea. You know, you get some Disruptors up, they support the Colossus, they force your opponent to split a bit. They can maybe just turn a fight around and give you a chance. Obviously, you're choked back on 3 bases, you're not allowed a 4th, you've still got Widowmines in your mineral lines. It ain't a pretty place to be playing from, but at least you've got some hope, and again, it really does just come in the form of those Disruptors. Clem is extremely comfortable, though. Vikings on the way, Fusion Core coming down so you can get Liberator range. Really thinking about everything he might need in the future, as right now, he's actually just going to go for this. Units on the right side, he does now land some EMPs on the Colossus, while the Super Battery is putting in overtime already. That's going to have to continue as Disruptor shot does decently, and Clem is going to be pretty much halted here, maybe a little bit too overeager at this fight, but now he gets the jump on the Disruptors. He gets 3 Disruptors there. Honestly, it was a decent hold from Zoun until you lose the Disruptors. Now you've lost the Disruptors, you're in a lot of trouble because they were the one thing that was really doing a lot for you, but yeah. Zoun almost looked like he was going to push it back for just a moment, but obviously just does not happen in the end, and Clem is able to take the first map of this best of 3 here in the Katowice group stages against Zoun. In the top right-hand side, taking that first map, it is going to be our Red Terran player, Team Liquid's Clem. And in the bottom left, we do have the Blue Protoss player, is Zoun. I justified the sub to my wife because I watched so much in the morning during coffee. Her voice puts my kid down for her nap. That's amazing. I feel like that's worth the sub. I feel like that's a good one to justify with. Better than a white noise machine? Hell yeah. That's awesome. It's really cool going to Katowice because obviously we had a crowd again, and especially on the last day when we were in the arena and stuff, as Zoun's going to proxy again. On the last day, we were in the arena and stuff, and just before, we got kind of shown where the caster desk was, and it was kind of looking out into the arena, and we hung around there for a few minutes, and it was really cool. So many people came up and, you know, said hi and said, you know, great to watch your stream and love what I'm doing and stuff. And I've never had that when I went to events before. Like, this has been like, you know, the last time I casted event, I'm sure 1 or 2 people came up to me and were like, oh, hey, it was really cool. But, like, there's people waiting to talk to me. And I was like, oh my God, that's such a strange experience. I was like, what the hell? But none of them quite had the story of, you put my kids to sleep. Is where I was going with this. I heard some crazy stories. I heard some interesting stories, but not quite I listen to you, and my kid falls asleep to your voice. Alright, Reaper is on the way out here from Zoun. From Clem. Zoun is obviously just going for the exact same thing as second game in a row. So interesting to kind of double down on something that just didn't work last time. In a way, I almost feel like it's him saying, hey, this is how I really want to open versus Clem. And yeah, last game it got scouted right away. What if this game I can throw him for a loop, though? But I mean, Clem knows this Nexus is later than it should be. Yep, that's what the Reaper's scouting for, because he knows the Nexus is later than it's meant to be. It went down after the CC build, so Clem knew something was up. He immediately scouts it, and I mean, Clem's building a tech lab. He's going to go into a Marauder, a bunker, and concussive shells, and honestly feels like we're just going to have a repeat of game number 1. Not quite sure why he would double. I think in a way it's almost like if you were doing something that was harder to spot, it's kind of smart because your opponent's like, oh, you know, you just did that, you wouldn't do it again. And he's like, surprise! But when it's easy to spot just because of the Nexus timing, at least to make Clem suspicious enough to think about it, well, then I feel like it's kind of questionable. High ground CC as well from Clem. He's going to take 0 risks here. Reaper should be able to chase for a kill. It's going to be close. Oh, he just about wins the micro war, man. Okay, this is going to be one of those games, where just nothing really goes the way of Zoun, isn't it? I can already feel it happening, actually. You know, it just already feels like we're getting this underway. It's starting, it's beginning. Go on, Zoun. Let's try and keep this together. Let's not have this fall apart. That would be a little bit of a shame, obviously. There's a couple of Marauders coming over. They're going to work their way through the pylon there and just shut down that gateway completely. That's going to be done and dusted. And that is going to be the start of our... I mean, that's where this game gets real interesting, I suppose, as the Twilight Council is coming on up. The warp gate is going to be finishing in just a few short moments, so that's all completing. As the barracks moves over to build a reactor as well. And that Twilight Council from Zoun, also not too far from finishing up. Your Depth's going in after some SCVs. It's actually quite nice jumping into the main base, and it's going to be a lot more damage than what he found last time around. 5 workers go down. The Depths get out alive, 2 of them, so not a bad start, actually. And he's going to switch it up big time on the follow-up. He's going to go Dark Shrine right away, so Zoun is going to begin looking for a lot of really kind of deal damage pressure rather than... Last game, to be fair, on the follow-up, he went Blink, but he didn't do much with it. It was just 2 gates. It was a very passive Blink. He sat in front of the base with a handful of Stalkers, and that was about it, right? It was very unaggressive. And I wouldn't mind ramping it up a little bit, you know, this game with just more Stalkers, but, you know, he's going to decide, okay, I'll ramp it up with DTs instead. It's a little bit scary, but let's see if it can work. Clem does have an engineering bay halfway done. That gives him the potential to build a turret, but will he build a turret? Well, that's not a guarantee. See what he ends up thinking here further down the line, as obviously Zoun just continuing to proxy things everywhere. I mean, worth mentioning, I guess, or just point out, just in case people are only listening, you didn't see that Dark Shrine is proxied on the map, but is just trying to be as much of a surprise as possible. And it needs to be, right? If you're going to have success with this, you can't have Clem know about it, especially when he kind of shut down the start, but like I say, those adepts bring you back a little bit. They put you into the worker lead that you're more or less meant to have as a Protoss player as well. So that's obviously fantastic. There's a missile turret building on the natural. The tank will siege behind, and those few DTs are going to start making their way to the top of the map. Look at all more adepts just shading across. I mean, the adepts have been the best thing so far, but of course, DTs are about to make their grand entrance. Unfortunately, there's a missile turret, which means they can't walk into the front, and there's no robo facility, right? So you're unable to drop into the main. It kind of just nullifies the Dark Templar altogether, and Clem just has a complete and utter shutdown so far on Zoun. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy, right? Yeah, it's a little bit wild as just the Shadow Stride is on the way up at the moment. Yeah, Clem does not let Zoun do anything, really. I mean, again, those few adepts got in, they did some damage, but when you consider the investment of the DTs, they did nothing, and that really kind of stunts the progress of Zoun in this game. Now, like I say, going up to Shadow Stride, we'll aim to get something a little bit different on the go here. Let's see what he can do with it as this Bioarmy continues to push back the couple of Stalkers, so they get pushed away. And there's Bioforce still heading down to the south. Oh, grabs one Stalker right away. The other Stalkers end up blinking back pretty much immediately, realizing they gotta get out of there, gotta get out of trouble. Tank's still firing, Stalker's still taking some hits. The Archon's moving forward with this. But Deb's taking a lot of damage as well. That Siege Tank will go down. The Archon's still pressing forward with this as well, and this is going to be Clem chased away. Zoun is going to defend. He is going to stop Clem from getting up in his face, and that's going to buy him time to at least get Charge and Shadow Strike done, and maybe that DT Charge Lot combo can be somewhat deadly. That's got potential, right? You know, especially if the Terran doesn't realize quite what's going on, then the DT's blinking, the Zealot's charge. If you just don't have the DPS you need as the Terran, or if your scan is slightly late, you can really die to that very quickly. We've seen it happen a lot of times before, so yeah, definitely some reason for concern as a Stalker goes down already. The Bio Army able to grab that Stalker and just having the rest of this from Zoun moving back and forth a little bit. Mr. Zealot's warping in, Bioforce still pressing through. A couple Widow Mines are gonna come forward, and well, this is what Clem wants to try and bait Zoun into. Do we have any DTs currently on the map? We do not, so that Shadow Strike not going to use just yet. Widow Mines gonna help clean out the Zealots, nothing too major there. There wasn't like a major clump of them or anything, as Clem will stand back. And yeah, I mean, without the mines, it's difficult to justify continue push into this. Bio units versus a battery, and you know, Archon's immortal. These tanky units that just don't die easily. They die a lot more easily when you get a Widow Mine shot to help out against their shields. Just softens them up that little bit and really goes a long way from there as the Bioforce pushed back by the Zealot Stalker Archon. And now the DT's going to blink in on the other side. That's going to be a good trap, and that's what I'm talking about. If Clem's not expecting it, those DTs can be so powerful. There was no scan there, and that means that Clem did not pick off a single one of those Dark Templar. And that's the kind of fight that Zoun needed. Something which just brought him back in this game a little bit. Something to even things out a little bit and just give him a platform to play from almost. Dropping Nexus down to the bottom right corner. A couple probes going down. The Stalkers and Cannons building as Zoun continues to solidify his defense. He will lose the fourth in the bottom right while this Widow Mine drop goes off. So nice multitasking from Clem. Against, you know, being successful in the bottom right corner is a big deal. As now we have got the Cannons, Robobay, and everything else still just on the way up here. Bio Army continuing to pull back. And we actually might have some counterattack from Zoun as well. He's already setting up across the map to maybe bring something into play. All these DTs, they got to be careful with where they decide to play. They're going to just jump on the army. I don't mind it. They have their blink available. Oh, he's going to blink on top, so he's believing he can take the fight, and he is not wrong. The only issue really with this, I don't know if it's necessarily even an issue, is just obviously use that blink to get on top. If other units arrive, then you don't have that getaway power you usually have, so it does cost you a couple DTs in the end. DTs are very expensive units, and that's the issue, right? They don't come cheap. They're a big gas investment, and the whole point of building so many of them is you have that blink to keep them very safe. So it's always a risky move, that one. But again, I feel like Zoun is the guy that at the moment, kind of throughout the game, felt like he needed to take risks. At this point, I wonder if he's actually done enough to just be okay without taking further risk, but that's obviously difficult for him to judge as well. And his Widow Mine's gonna get blinked away from. We're gonna blink in and get rid of the turret there. So the third base is going to be under fire. But the fourth base of Zoun is pretty much a gunner as well. That's going to go down without issue, I believe. And that's going to go straight on down. 6 SCVs dying across the map as now we jump into the main, and this is going to be more of a problem. Shutting down some gateway production. That's now a slow warping, by the way, into the main base. Slow warping is hugely problematic. I mean, these are all Zealots that should have already been on top of this Bioforce supporting, but took so long to get here. And right now, Clem can take advantage of being an upgrade ahead as well. No +2 yet from Zoun. So without armor, these Zealots do not last quite as long as they sometimes could. A few probes going down. I mean, well handled by Zoun in the end, but obviously down a fourth base that he was trying to get up to, and just having to bring all those units into the main feels like it slows down any potential to move onto the map as well, right? Clem knows he's kind of controlling the game still. And the first splash damage is only just now starting to take place, which is the first few disruptors starting to, you know, come onto the map. What am I over here? Unburrow, and let's relocate slightly. Take a few moments to calm it down. I think Clem almost needs that as well. His own tech is on the way out now. Liberators, Ghosts. These are all things which will help him to improve his game. He delayed his 2-2 to prioritize the Liberator Ghost production as well. And gets his 4th base ready. I think he realizes that even though he could maybe do okay with drop play in the lower tech bio army, he just ain't gonna win this game with that kind of army. He knows that he needs further tech to be good here. Oh, that disruptor shot was terrifying. The Ghost just about finding the split away that they needed. But that was almost disastrous, of course, as a disruptor there does get taken down. The other disruptor's being chased. The force field will drop, and this Nexus is going to be filled off again. Without a 4th base, you're generally in a pretty bad position as a Protoss, but again, counterattack and 8 SCVs go down, but that looks like that's the end of it. So, again, just some workers going down back over here. DT showing up, but then getting dealt with. And again, that comes out of Clem and Zoun as well. Widow Mines here connecting decently, but there's just no follow-up that Clem has to turn around and properly fight. But of course, that's what his further tech is for. That's what all of those Liberators are for. He's kept a lot of his Ghosts alive so he can EMP this army and really make it engageable. And so I think Clem still has a lot of the tools necessary to be successful on this defense. As Zoun maybe getting a little impatient. You know, you haven't had a 4th base. You probably feel like you need to do something sooner rather than later. The longer this game goes without a 4th, the more trouble you're going to end up in as EMPs go down. Disruptor shells trying to fire. The Liberator is sieging up, and just going to see these Widow Mines. Oh, one of them connects on a Colossus. These are mortals being chased. Oh my goodness, this was a disaster fight for Zoun. Everything just went wrong in an instant. Like, he just fell apart in this engagement. Wow. To have such a, I mean, I wouldn't say it was the best army you could have had, right? But it was a threatening army. I guess you kind of consider then just how much is in this Terran force, right? There were Liberators, there were Ghosts. And it's really only a couple Disruptors and Colossus. And Clem just overruns, no issue at all. Comes straight on through. Looks like he's going to have himself a 2-0 here on the match. It's going to be 2-0. GG's. Well played by Clem. I want to take just another look at the fight and just really, again, show just how one-sided it was. I just felt like Zoun's army was not too ludicrous to be out on the map. He's down a bit of army supply. Upgrades are okay. +2 against 1-1. This Disruptor shot doesn't hit. That's fine. Next one hits. Doesn't hit. This one gets away. This is kind of sad. This Disruptor's going to die, and that puts you on only 1 Disruptor in this army. And that's really kind of scary, right? And then you look at everything else. I guess it's funny because, like, it feels like he's had so much more this game, but actually he only has 1 Colossus in this army currently. And actually, like, to be fair, like, I really felt like walking around this army was pretty scary. You've got 1 in the Colossus not even here, so you've got 1 Colossus of splash damage. That's not ideal. It doesn't have extended thermal lance either. Like, the army itself, if you ignore a lot of the other factors, does look threatening, but when you really start to look at it, it's like, oh wow, there's not much there. That Disruptor dies, EMPs go down across the board. That means the Archon dies too quickly. The Zealots won't do anything here, and with the Libs sieging up, I mean, everything is already melted at this point. The Libs weren't even needing to be sieged. Yeah, I mean, there just wasn't the firepower in this army of Zoun. And like I say, it's a funny one because walking around, and he walked around with such confidence, and it feels like he's been going for such a long time. You're like, I expected there to be more tech in this. Looking back, you realize there's just no real splash damage in there, and that's why it becomes such a one-sided affair. Clem cleans up and just gets himself a 2-0.